The other is enhance the image of Ethiopian handicrafts, which, as I said, this is a social problem which wants to tackle it, and diversified income opportunities for local vendors, for hotels and tour operators, and enrich experience of visiting tourists. The tourists wanted to have some experiences, wanted to buy some materials from the destinations, to remember the destination areas, so that we enrich their experiences by selling locally produced crafts. The other is greater penetration of Ethiopia into the international handicrafts export market, because we have examples of some traditional crafts which redesigned and developed now in Ethiopia. Now they began to export at the international market. They involved in the international market. You might have heard that WEDF is one PLC organized by the private sector. Now they began to export textile for the European markets. So we just, if this project is now realized at the outcome level, we want to enter the Ethiopian crafts into the international export market levels. Okay, having all these things done with this project, we look at how the sustainability issue. As a national ownership empowerment of communities through a participatory approach and capacity building all levels of government, if once empower the communities, now through participation, through participatory approach, we believe that the project will be sustained. Now it will be, most of the projects in these handicrafts. In Ethiopia also there were so many attempts to connect the handicrafts industry towards the market at the national level and at the international level, but most of them are not sustained. Because now we need, at this level, we need the empowerment of all communities so that they will be capable of now continue by themselves, okay? Not usually depending on the government or the other institutions, but by themselves. Once we created a linkage between the local communities, the local producers, with the tour operators and other sectors of the market, involved in the market, like hotels, now they will continue by themselves as once they are empowered. The other is the project will engage the private sector from the outset, creating a forum of private-public sector dialogue. Yes, one important thing that we have gained from the Kenyan workshop was this one. Because now we strictly now attached with the private sectors, jointly discusses what are the problems of tourists, what are the problem of products in the destination areas. So we are just exchanging ideas. So at this level also the project will be sustained when we too, the private sector and the public sector, united together and discussing together the issues of this market. The other is the project will also support the establishment of crafts performing hubs in 4 cultural tourism sites, because now in the site one of the problems is that they don't have any central hubs to have just sell their materials at the destination level. So we'll establish that, therefore it will be sustained for long years. Therefore, the inclusion of local community members as well as craft producers in the management team will also contribute to the sustainability of the craft culture. Once we involve them, once we accept them, once we now share ideas and knowledge, now it will sustain. We believe that the project will sustain. The other is securing preferential treatment in government procurement and tax regulations. So far, the government has gone now with these tax regulations, but not that much. The government encouraged the private sector to bring materials for the hotels, for the tour operators with low and minimum taxations. So there is no problem. So in this sector also, if a new procurement and tax regulation systems, so we believe that it will be sustained. The other is encouraging and supporting the craftsmen, women and artisans to diversify their products and utilize environmentally friendly, cheap, used and recycling raw materials will also contribute for the sustainability, because once it becomes environmentally friendly, it will be sustained. Okay, thank you very much. And finally, of course, I thank you all the ITC staffs who facilitated this project ideas. And also, as Mr. Ramin mentioned, that 2 of our friends from the private sectors were doing together with this project, but unfortunately, because of some problems of in the air, I mean visa problems, they couldn't come here. Anyway, it is a product of the involvement of both the public sectors and the private sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this comprehensive and efficient presentation style. I thought we would be still in the middle of it, given this amount of information that was to be shared. Thank you very much. Mr. Doman, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Dick de Man. I'm Deputy Director of the CBI, the Center for the Promotion of Imports from Developing Countries of the Netherlands. We are an agency of the Netherlands government with the mission to contribute to sustainable economic development in our client countries. And we do this through export development. And we've been doing this for the past 40 years. The main mission is to strengthen the competitive position of SMEs on the European market, SMEs in Africa and Asia and in Latin America. And tourism is one of the first sectors that CBI 40 years ago started to do. So more than 40 years of experience in tourism development and tourism promotion on the European market. We were invited by ITC, our close partners with whom we are closely and strategically collaborating for many decades, to join the tourism program that is now subject of this afternoon. We have a number of participants in Ethiopia, part of a group of 280 tour operators presently taking part in our programs from 37 countries. But to invite 2 tour operators from Ethiopia to participate in the workshop in Kenya that was held in preparation for today. 2 tour operators, Grand Holidays Ethiopia and Red Jackal tour operators. They unfortunately couldn't come, I understood, due to technical problems, visa problems. But nevertheless, what I would like to do is to share with you, and in 3 minutes, I hope, to share with you some critical success factors in our tourism export development. As I mentioned, what we do is preparing SMEs, exporters, in this case tour operators, inbound tour operators, to get a strong position on the European market. And we have a particular approach developed for that. And it starts with a good feasibility study, knowing the ins and outs of the demand and supply potential for tourism products in our client countries. And secondly, with a very good, thorough selection of the tour operators, the guys that have really the light in their eyes, that want to go through some investments and some guts in order to get to this tourism market. Like Pascal Lamy said this morning, it's a complex system. It's not just harvesting and getting into it. No, it requires an all-embracing approach. And that is also on the level of the tour operator. Okay, when the selection has taken place, the first thing that we do is to guide the tour operator with developing an export strategy and structure and planning it to the company so that there is focus. Not just any tourism product that the country can supply, but focus on a segment where he is good in, and focus on a particular geographical market in Europe and a particular segment in Europe where he could have his chances best developed. And that is the starting point of the whole 4-5-year operation that we take those tour operators on board. And they get from us individual tailor-made coaching by a group of some 12 experienced European experts that we hire, with geographical and segment expertise, and they are the individual coaches for the 4-5 years in all their efforts. That is one of the success factors. Then when the company is ready and has developed his particular strategy, his targeted strategy for Europe, we help him with market entry support, and we sustain that for 4-5 years, because that's the time it takes for them to get really a foothold on the European market. Because it's about creating confidence in tourism. And that means it's a people's business, showing your face every year. So 4-5 years of assistance. And not just enabling them to participate in European fairs or in traveling exhibitions, but having this coach with him and to train the tour operator on the job how to approach the press, how to go to a tour operator, what should be in place when you approach a tour operator, how to address him, how to follow up, and that takes 4 or 5 years to do that, but always individual training by the same expert in a sustainable way.